Vamos perguntar para ele um pouquinho sobre essa história de TypeScript. Let's speak in English. Peter, you said about TypeScript, and here we have this barrier, this difficulty here, because a lot of ABAP developers are learning JavaScript. People think JavaScript is difficult, and you said one more thing, TypeScript. So for us, we are learning JavaScript, and why use TypeScript in SAPUI5 developments? What are the advantages over the JavaScript?
So basically, this TypeScript topic was something we looked at quite a long time. We were a bit decided in the beginning whether we really want to support TypeScript or not, but as it emerged and became something standard, there was no question anymore we need to support TypeScript. But for a framework which has been developed in JavaScript, it's quite
I just
some
wanted
work.
to say it's not only like because we decided it, but if you also follow us on GitHub and so, there were constant discussion and like also the request from the community, please support TypeScript. We really want to write our applications in TypeScript. And this was also then a motivation to hear this feedback and come up with an approach.
And definitely TypeScript has advantages for UI5 development. It comes with code completion out of the box. So you get most IDEs, modern IDEs are supporting code completion for TypeScript. And this is something what we benefit of. Business Application Studio or Visual Studio Code and other standard web IDEs and standard JavaScript IDEs support code completion for TypeScript. You have a big tooling support, which does syntactical checks of your code, and it also ensures that the types are properly there. And overall, I would say it also improves the code quality, especially for people who starting fresh in development, in UI development. I would say TypeScript is really a nice way of kickstarting and getting a better experience to UI development.
Maybe from me, like also as you might know, TypeScript is an extension to JavaScript. So it's a different way to write JavaScript. And as you might experience also, I know from lots of people who are coming from object-oriented languages that they have really difficulties with JavaScript because it's so unstructured. You do not have any types. I think classes only were invented like 3 years ago. And so it's so completely different what you learned with traditional languages, no? And with TypeScript, you get a bit back of the structure that you are used from other languages. So it's also oriented a bit on as what I heard on Java, like how Java is developed and so. And so I think if you come from ABAP, for example, or any other object-oriented language, you might have, it might be easier even for you because you get some structure again for your development and so on. And this is also maybe then a better kickstart for a developer to the JavaScript world.
Okay.
With all the benefits, what Peter just said, like if you use then types again, most of the IDEs that you are using, they understand this and then can help you with also with references to API documentations and things like that. But it helps also you then like that your code is cleaner and that you follow always the same structure as you are used with other languages.
Okay, I understand. So TypeScript is easier than JavaScript.
It depends from which area you are coming. You can't say it. It depends really of your history also. But I could imagine that someone who is really used to object-oriented languages might have an easier entry there. But what you can also understand is even if you make use of the benefits of TypeScript, it does not mean that you have to write TypeScript. You can also just make the type definitions and then benefit from code completion and stay with JavaScript. So it's very flexible how you can use it. This is, I think, also an advantage of this language.
I want to say that as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to take the full TypeScript part. You can also use the type definitions we produce for UI5 for JavaScript development, and you get code completion also for the JavaScript parts. For us, it also has another quality because it's also the evolution of the programming model. You know that UI5 is a bit stick to ES5 or was sticked, and with the UI5 tooling, we want to unchain that that it's possible also to use modern JavaScript to develop your apps. But we have some limitations with proprietary module loader syntax, this SAP UI define, if I go a bit more technical. But nowadays, if you write new code, you have these ES6 modules. And you would use ES classes versus our UI5 classes then. And what we are doing with the TypeScript, it's also a joint thing which happened together with the community, and there have been several things already happening up front before we invested fully in the TypeScript part, is that already the community showed us a way how you could write your JavaScript code in modern JavaScript with imports, with classes, all these modern JavaScript features. And as you are now using a tooling underneath to transpile code, you can also benefit from that. And this was one missing piece we didn't have before in the old days. And with TypeScript and this tooling and this modern environment, we now can really go ahead and lift UI5 in a complete new modern development experience.
But this is, again, also something what you need to understand. The browser does not understand TypeScript. This means if you're writing TypeScript, you need to transpile at the end. So that you need to transfer your application in a language again that the browser understands, which is JavaScript. So for a beginner, this might be the step that makes it a bit more difficult, because you need to understand that at the end of your development, you need this transpilation and need to know which tools to use and how to connect this, that this works.
Okay. So TypeScript, the transpiling is always obligatory for TypeScript.
Yeah. We even go a step further, because we don't transpile TypeScript to ES6 code or to modern JavaScript code. There is a plugin what we are using, this Babel transpile for the this Babel compiler for the UI5 modules, that we even go a bit further, that we convert these ES modules in UI5 modules. So instead of imports, the translated or transpile code is a SAP UI define module, and the classes defined in ES classes, they are translated into UI5 classes. So from a runtime later on, what you see is that this is really, it looks like UI5 runtime code, classic UI5 runtime code. And this is even beneficial because this could potentially even work with older releases. But we have to say there is one remark. We enabled the TypeScript definition support for UI5 only on 187 onwards. So this UI5 release is the basic release where you get the full type support also for the sub-UI5 distribution content.
Ok, wow, very good. TypeScript é um assunto aí novo para nós, né? Então, resumidamente aí, TypeScript seria uma evolução do JavaScript, uma forma mais moderna de fazer o desenvolvimento de JavaScript. Para quem vem do ABAP, a Margot falou que pode ser até mais fácil aprender primeiro o TypeScript do que o JavaScript, né? Porque é uma linguagem tipada, o TypeScript. Então, ela também falou, tem muitas IDEs e muitas ferramentas que estão suportando já o TypeScript, uma linguagem forte aí da web, e que, então, é importante para o SAPUI5 suportar o TypeScript para que o SAPUI5 fique cada vez mais moderno, né? Cada vez mais equivalente às grandes linguagens de programação web. Essa é uma forma bem resumida, né? Mas ele falou uma questão do transpile aí também, uma questão já mais avançada, que é de converter o código